Hello BookTube. It's a wonderful fall day. It's like about 70 degrees out here on November 3rd. A bit windy, so hopefully it won't be too loud and you'll still be able to hear me. I just want to kind of go over some of the things I finished recently. I did finally finish The House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is a book that some decade or two ago I attempted to read and couldn't get into it, but I was quite captivated by it this time. The prose is a little challenging, being an older classic, and the writing style. But still, I found the whole subject matter kind of slightly spooky, but kind of not. It's more a bit of a, in a way, a little bit of a crime novel with a revenge kind of twist to it. But we do start out with learning about the background to the House of the Seven Gables and how it came to be built. Colonel Pynchon is the one who built it on the land of Matthew Mall, a man that he helped be accused of witchcraft. And before Matthew Mall was executed for witchcraft, he pointed a finger at Colonel Pynchon and said, "God will give him blood to drink." And shortly after, he doesn't seem to care. He builds the house on Mall's property and doesn't get to enjoy very long on there because soon he is found dead, with blood dripping out of his mouth, apparent stroke of some sort. So it looks like this curse sort of had come true. As we kind of get into the story, at the beginning, we meet Hepzibah. She's a relative of Colonel Pynchon, and she is the main occupier of the house, along with Hallgrave, someone who's he's a daguerreotypist, a photographer, who's renting space in the home. And Hepzibah is finding it difficult to kind of, she's finding financial difficulty basically in the upkeep of the home and everything, and having to open up a shop, which is just very degrading for somebody of her stature and in society. But it's apparently something that's been known to happen. She just never thought it would happen to her, and she's just mortified by the whole thing. She has a bit of a what they describe as a very dour expression, and it's only because she's kind of nearsighted and has to kind of like squint a lot, and people think she's just a very disagreeable person, which isn't really great kind of personality for someone who's going to be opening up a shop. But shortly thereafter, Phoebe, a cousin from the country who she wasn't expecting, kind of comes to visit and is very helpful in helping to run the shop and everything like that. And then another person comes, her brother Clifford, who has been away for reasons you should come to find out, and he's not quite the same mentally as he was before he had left for quite some time. So she's finding it difficult to kind of balance all these things and taking care of her brother, but Phoebe's a very big help. Like I said, there's a bit of a crime that you find out had taken place, and that sort of unfolds. There's the whole Pynchon Mall kind of battle between the various relatives or distant relatives. There's a reference to a document to some property that's been missing and that the Pynchons really want to get a hold of, and there's a particular member of the Pynchon family known as Judge Pynchon, who he's a very greedy, he has a hidden past too, and really wants to get a hold of this document. But all this is sort of unfolding where there's people who aren't who you think they are. There's also a romance that kind of develops within the storyline, but it was really, really good. There are times when it's a bit slow. Like I said, you kind of muddle through a little bit of the prose and stuff, but I really started getting in more and more into the characters and their background, some of it hidden background, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Editing Sue here. I kind of just remembered I forgot to mention one thing about The House of Seven Gables that I found also interesting was the use of the narrator in kind of communicating with the reader at times, and also with the characters in the book. I thought that was odd. Sometimes it's referring to you, the reader, must think this or that, and then later on in the book, it becomes really prevalent when there's a certain character who's kind of just sitting in a chair for reasons, and the narrator is saying, "Why are you just sitting there? You have this. People must be waiting for you." And it kept like almost having this conversation, one-sided conversation with this person in the chair, and it was just a very odd technique that I it's really kind of stood out a little bit at first, and it goes on much longer than I felt comfortable with. I guess it kind of dragged that part out a little bit, but it was different. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. I just thought that was odd. To definitely pick up another Hawthorne. I've never actually to my knowledge or recollection, read The Scarlet Letter, so that'll probably be next on my list. The audiobook I was listening to, which I have a physical copy of the book here, is The Sea Wolf by Jack London. This is my first Jack London, because I don't think I ever actually read Call of the Wild. I'm kind of familiar with maybe seeing a movie version of it, but never actually read it. I'd actually thought The Sea Wolf was probably the name of this particular ship, but this is actually called The Ghost. We follow a man, which I see if I can get his name. It's a very strange name. Humphrey Van something or other. Irregardless, his main name is Humphrey. And he is sailing aboard a ship that ends up in a collision with another ship, and he's pulled from the sea by a seal hunting vessel, the Ghost, captained by Wolf Larsen, and that's where your wolf comes from. The captain is basically the sea wolf. He is a bit of an intellectual compared to everybody else on the ship, and he finds Humphrey kind of fascinating. Humphrey has never really worked a day in his life. He has an inheritance from his father. He does some writing that brings him some income, but that's pretty much all he's done. And Humphrey is kind of like just begging to be just taken back to land, and he says, I'll pay whatever. But Wolf's like, nope, you're going to stay on the ship, and I'm going to put you to work, and you're going to be my cabin boy. And it's like he's thrown into this whole different world that he's just never experienced before, and it's quite the challenge. It's interesting to watch the growth of this character. He becomes nicknamed Hump, so Hump and Wolf are quite often in these like philosophical discussions because he has no one else to talk to, and it's interesting seeing into the mind of Wolf and how he is so different from Hump. There were at times it was intriguing, but also at times boring in these philosophical discussion parts. But I loved like the adventures out on the sea, the storms and things they're facing, and stuff like that, being hit by leaves. And like I said, the growth of the character. It's interesting too because apparently Jack London, who was very prolific, he wrote, and in terms of the 18 years when he was like kind of involved in writing, he wrote some, I think they say 50 books, 20 of them novels. He was one of the first writers to become a millionaire in his time, but he died at age 40. He had contracted some illness, I think during seafaring days, or he'd been seal hunting as well and stuff like that, but also alcoholism and various other things took a toll on his health. So he died quite young, which is sad. But he brought a lot of that, his background, his adventuring, and he even went off gold digging in the Klondike, and like I said, adventures at sea. He was always drawn to the sea. So you can definitely see that in his writing. The character of Hump is like fascinated and terrified of Wolf at the same time. You have that kind of imbalance there. He doesn't quite know. He's intrigued by the mind of the character and the strength of the character. At times he seems almost infatuated with him. But then he's also terrified of getting anywhere within reach of him because his anger can snap at a second. There's a bit of a romance that takes place, which you're thinking, how can that be? But something happens along the way, and just the adventure of this main character, Humphrey, and the changes that we see in him, I thought were really, really interesting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I will definitely be looking into picking up another Jack London somewhere along the way. Again, probably one where he's most known for, The Call of the Wild. And then kind of to top off the October season, Halloween, I picked up finally October Faction. This is by Steve Niles and Damian Worm. Apparently it was made into a Netflix original series, but I no longer have Netflix, so I didn't get to see it. But it features our main family, the Allen family. It says in this tale about the typical challenges that a very atypical family encounters while fending off the attacks of vampires, werewolves, demons, and more. They're monster hunters. At least the parents are, and the two children here kind of want to join in that profession. The father's kind of stepped away from it, and the mother's always kind of wanted to continue that. Just that they were most alive when they were doing this, and like I said, the kids kind of want to join in. It was really kind of interesting. But what I like the most, and I know some people don't like this particular art style, but I do. It is very dark, and at times maybe a little difficult to see, but there's something about it that just really suits this. You can see a couple characters here kind of fighting. This is this weird robot character who's angry at the father. for reasons that you come to see. Let's see if I can find some really good images. There's one at the house near the beginning that I really liked. Oh, wait. I had these marked off. Oh, here's another view of the family. It almost makes it think like the Addams family or something, but Allen family. They had a really good, interesting story. It almost seems like the beginning, like there should be another volume after this. Oh, here's the one I really like. Look at that house. Isn't that creepy? But I really like the art style. The characters I thought were pretty well developed. There is another character who, see this guy here, who used to work with the father, Father Frederick, in the monster hunting days. He's actually a werewolf. And it's kind of intriguing since, they hunt monsters, and one of them is a monster. Again, there's that really kind of dark style. So you get some that are like almost monotone, like these purple pages and these kind of reddish pages. But I really enjoyed the storyline. I just kind of want more. I want like a continuation. Yeah, look out monsters, here we come. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you're looking for something kind of good and creepy, with really intriguing artwork, I definitely recommend that. In terms of what I'm reading now, I'll try and put an image of it on the screen here. But it is a Icelandic translation of Dracula. I believe it's called Powers of Darkness. I have it actually, let's see, I have it on my Nook. I've had it for quite some time, just never got around to it. And there's some question as to how the story came about. Now, apparently Dracula translated into Icelandic. There was some kind of preface to it written by Bram Stoker. But when people decided to finally kind of delve more into this Icelandic translation and translate that back into English, it's very different from Dracula. There are other characters. It's apparently a bit more erotic. There are a longer time where our main character is in the Count's castle. Some names have been changed. Some characters aren't there. It's like it's been rewritten. But then there are some notes that were found, I guess, on Dracula and like other ideas. So this could have been based on an earlier kind of an earlier script or something of Dracula before changes were made to the final print. That maybe that's what Bram Stoker gave to this person to translate. So it could be that. It could be his original idea for Dracula, or it could be this author took a lot of liberties when he was translating it and created his own book. It's kind of debated back and forth as to which it is. But so far, it's good. I'm enjoying it a lot. And it's been a while since I've read actually the actual Dracula, so maybe I'll pick it up after and kind of try and do a back-to-back comparison in my head and see how much different it is. But I am enjoying it a lot, so it just still feels like a good time for something spooky. And then, I'm trying to think, yeah, my current audiobook is by C.J. Tudor. It's called The Hiding Place. And I didn't know much about it going in. I read The Chalkman by this author once before, and I really loved it. And he's using the same kind of technique with this particular book, using an unreliable narrator, and I absolutely loved that. Our main character was a teacher. He's applying for a job at the beginning at a school in a town he used to live in, but he's clearly lying about everything. He's kind of made up the whole resume that he's presenting, and you hear it because you're hearing his thoughts, and he's like, yeah, well, I should get a Nobel Prize for this one, because he created this whole synopsis that he's presenting on the resume. And there was some tragedy in his family. He's got this limp that he's kind of bringing into the story, and I'm curious as to this background. There's also like a murder-suicide that kind of took place between a mother and son, and trying to see what this connection is to him. And he's staying in the home where this murder-suicide took place, and people are kind of like, why are you staying in this place? What's wrong with you? And they immediately take a dislike to him just for being in this place. And there's also kind of a, how do you put it, someone from his past who was always a bit of a bully in a way, but he was in a way friends with him as a kid, not close friends, but kind of he luckily was on that side of the bullying, you know, rather than on the other side, on the receiving end. And he's now encountering this guy who's got a lot of control in the town, and his son is turning out to be just like him, a bully as well. So their connection, their reconnection isn't going very well for him. It's not boding well, you might say. There's something from their past that he doesn't like him being around. So a lot of people don't want him there. And that's about all I kind of know about it so far. Like I said, I'm kind of going in blind, but I really enjoyed the Chalkman so much that I wanted to get around to reading something of other of his works. And so this is the first one. I know he's got at least a couple other books too, but this is the first one I kind of came across, saw it on audio. I thought, well, what the heck? I need something to listen to while I'm driving back and forth to work. So that's what I'm listening to right now, and I'm reading the Powers of Darkness, the Dracula translation. I can't in my head remember the name of the author of that, or the translator of it, but I will, like I said, I'll try to put an image of it on the screen for you. And that's it. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading right now. It's so nice out here today. I'm actually just grab my nook and I'm going to read out here in my last few chances before, you know, the weather starts to really dip. Hope you guys are enjoying this beautiful weather. Hope you're getting this beautiful weather like we are, and you're reading something really good. Let me know down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I love crunching through leaves.